How's it going, everybody? So this came out today, the gameplay reveal for Dragon Age Veilguard, and when the trailer came out, when the reveal trailer came out, I wanted to hold off because I wanted to see gameplay. I wanted to see what this game was going to be like in terms of actually playing it, and I wanted to use that to then decide how I was going to express myself and my concerns regarding Dragon Age, Veilguard. This is a completely non-scripted video. This is just me speaking my mind a bit. So far, I'm extremely concerned. And I'm extremely concerned for a number of reasons, mainly storyboard reasons. So apparently this is going to be happening, by the way, before we talk about anything else. Huge spoiler ahead. Don't get mad at me because we're talking spoilers regarding rumors and all this other shit. It's gonna be rough, right? Before we go on, make sure to like, subscribe, all that stuff. But let's get into this. So one of the things that I've heard about from a bunch of people online is that this is supposedly happening 20 years after Inquisition. Now, that's bad, first of all. Huge time skips are always bad because what a giant time skip like that, 20 years, what that means is, first of all, every single warden that we've met so far, dead. Alistair, dead. Warden Commander, dead. All of them. Unless the calling's been fixed. And if the calling's been fixed off screen, BioWare, what the hell are you doing? Who wrote this? Why did you do that? Who the. Why? This was something that everyone wanted to see. And if you don't do that, if you don't do it one way or the other, then the calling is not a threat. Congratulations. Completely minimized it because it's been 33 years since the Battle of Denerim. What was the first thing that Alistair tells you when you ask him about being a Grey Warden?
Come. Oh, that's right. We never had time to tell you that part, did we? Well, in addition to all the other wonderful things about being a Grey Warden, you don't need to worry about dying from old age. You've got 30 years to live, give or take.
30 years, give or take. This is actually insane. I am blown away by this decision. I'm blown away that the AAA game devs continue to make this decision where they are supposedly trying to go for a continuous linear story and then they just throw in a 20-year time skip. You know what that is? That's laziness. That's cowardice of the writers. That's you don't know what you want to do with the story, and so instead you move it 20 years in the future so that you can settle all of these other things that are happening in tangent to the main story so that you don't need to worry about them. And if that's not the case, and everything is just basically did a 20-year time skip where nothing happened in those 20 years, then why the hell did you do a 20-year time skip? Right? Makes no sense. From a writing perspective, a 20-year time skip, if it is what happened, and looking at the characters, it very much looks like that's the case. Awful decision. Terrible. Whoever made that decision, I am surprised that you did. I'm very surprised because it's actually I'm not that surprised. We've seen Andromeda, we've seen Anthem, we've seen Inquisition. Terrible decision making. Disregarding that, supposedly Veilguard is meant to be the finale of Dragon Age. This is meant to be the last one. So every single threat, from the Darkspawn to the, to Winter Dragon Gods, to the Titans, to all of these things, all of them coming to a head. We're going to be fighting all of them. Question: how are you going to make all of these different story beats connect in a satisfying way. I'll tell you how. You're not going to. These story beats are all going to be very poorly accomplished. I guarantee it. None of them are going to be getting the time that they deserve. None of them are going to be receiving the dedicated attention that they deserve. They've insisted on maintaining the Darkspawn as a threat, a constant threat throughout all the games, except they never pay them the proper respect. They've insisted on including new and equally dangerous threats to make us feel as though everything is falling apart, and then none of these threats ever do anything. And now it's coming to a head in Veilguard where all of these things are happening, right? So far, all we've seen is demons. And so now let's talk about the demons. One of the most important things to do when you're introducing a villain, especially in media that is meant to last for a very long time, is you need to make that villain stand out. The way that villain stands out is you design a simple and easy to remember aesthetic for them. You've got the big spiky overlord guys, Sauron, the Lich King, everybody knows roughly what they look like, no matter what. Hell, the design is so iconic that they made a video game all around that design. You've got demons. Now, most people know what a demon is. Red skin, horns, fire, all of that. The demons of Dragon Age are a little different. They look much more spirit-like, like elementals almost. You've got the Rage Demon, you've got Sloth Demons, you've got Desire Demons, you've got Pride Demons, you've got Hunger Demons, you've got all of these things which are basically the deepest desires of man turned bad. And they've had a consistent design for 3 games. This is because demons are eternal. They don't change. That's the whole point of them. They've existed since forever, and they've always had this shape because that's just how we process them. And in this game, we are now being shown that the demons have changed. These are supposed to be demons. I would guess that these are shades, which to me makes me wonder, in what world are these shades? Because this only tangentially looks like this. You look at the rage demons right here, and I'm assuming this is a rage demon because those are the only fire demons. And I'm wondering why this change was made. Because the whole point of a rage demon was that it was literally lava. That's the point of it. It's fire. It's liquid fire that is attacking you. And so instead, now we've got this, which is much closer to what you'd expect of a classical demon, but it's got nothing to do with Dragon Age demons. And then the we've got the desire demon, the pride demon right here. We've got the pride demon right here, which now has a sword. Now doesn't have legs. Now flows around, jumps around, flies around, and he's got a sword. Now in Inquisition, we got, in my opinion, the best version of pride demons, right? So before then, the Pride Demon in 1 and 2 was a large, hulking creature. It pretty much functioned like an ogre physically, but it also could cast spells. That's fine. That works very nicely. In Inquisition, you saw that it had much more unique powers of its own, where it was actually able to do things himself that were unique to it. It had a lightning whip, it had all sorts of other unique abilities to itself. And that was interesting. And since in this game they want to go for something a little bit more action oriented rather than an RPG, that's what that's the type of thing that would be expected. Instead, they chose to completely overhaul the creature. This raises my concern greatly because if you want something to feel iconic, then you need to maintain its appearance. It needs to actually be an icon throughout the series. Otherwise, it's not iconic. Otherwise, it's something that showed up one time. It doesn't stand out. It doesn't leave a lasting impression because it just appeared and then disappeared again. And if you want to say that the demons are simply evolving, how are they evolving? They're demons. The whole definition of demon is that they are eternal. That is what they have been established in previous Dragon Age games to be. They've always been that way. They're always going to be that way, and now they're being changed. This raises the concern that now other things that so far have remained constant will not be so anymore. And now this is something else that I wanted to talk about, which is a rogue, a level 1 rogue using magic. And I don't know how else you could describe, let me read the definition here. Static strike, firing 2 bolts, each dealing damage independently but traveling along the same path. They apply weakened and they deal lightning damage, and that's magic. Which raises the question, what the hell? What is the point of 3 games worth of mages being looked at as essentially walking weapons of mass destruction when now all of a sudden everyone can use magic? Now, this might be something due to the veil breaking down, but I feel like that shouldn't be a level 1 thing because the character being shown here is level 1. He is not an experienced combatant yet. This is his first and only ability. The rogue's first and only ability is magic. But disregarding all of that, this game will live and die by its gameplay. And that gameplay will live and die by its animations. And the animations look good. I will say that. They look quite interesting. It seems as though enemy attacks are well telegraphed for you to be able to avoid them. You have a sort of combat role since you're a rogue. Um, it looks interesting. They overhauled the class mechanics, as you can see. The rogue now has. Let's skip forward to the next time that they're fighting. The rogue now has a bow and 2 swords, which means that they can now actually do both melee and range. This rogue seems to be specialized at ranged melee combat, using ranged as a supplement. But the question to me is, how does this translate for people people who want to play a specialist class? Um, I fear that this will result in that specialization being gone from the game. Do I think that's good? No, I think that's very, very bad. This is, after all, an RPG series, and RPGs live and die by their character creation. What builds you can make with your character, what you can create, and what you can specialize into. You look at Dragon Age Origins, for example, and you have hundreds of possible builds. There's people who make rogues that use two-handed swords and they deal incredibly high amounts of damage because by leveling towards cunning, they have an incredibly high amount of armor piercing, and then with the greatsword and other things to increase attack speed, the rogue ends up dealing a lot of damage. Is it the most efficient thing? No, but it's still a build that you can make, and it's something you can have fun with by specializing into it. Same goes for warriors that use bows, which have the highest damage with bows in Dragon Age Origins. This was something that was taken from us in Dragon Age 2 and was never reintroduced. Now, in this game, in the gameplay, not in the gameplay reveal, but in the original reveal trailer, we're shown what appears to be a warrior using two weapons. This was also something that stopped being a thing in Dragon Age 2, but personally, I'm excited to see it return as a thing that warriors seem to be able to do in Inquisition. If not, in Veilguard. If not, I'll be incredibly disappointed because I'm just going to say that it right now. This guy is using two swords. He's not using daggers, he's using two swords, or at least a sword and a dagger, which would be the which would be the weapon that a low level dual wielding warrior would be using, a sword and a dagger, only switching to two full sized weapons later on. Whereas a rogue would want two daggers for the purpose of higher crit damage with backstabs and the like. I'm extremely concerned for this game. I think the gameplay reveal will get a lot of people excited because it's shiny, it's bright, it's got all these nice colors and very, very neat animations. And I think that the current intended audience for Dragon Age is those people. And those people will not keep the franchise alive because those people will likely consume the content that they want off of Tumblr, off of Twitter, and off of YouTube by watching other people play and enjoying the story and enjoying the fan art and enjoying the animations vicariously through others. And the result of that has been games like Anthem, games like Inquisition, games that should have a focus on gameplay, but don't, because the focus is on the game looking pretty, the game looking all things except playing well. And I think that that's extremely disappointing. Dragon Age Origins lived and died by its gameplay. In Dragon Age 2, they tried to make that gameplay a little bit more dynamic while changing the items, and the result was the items felt like they belonged in an online RPG rather than a single player RPG, which, in my opinion, is a cardinal sin. It takes away so much from the actual vibrancy of creating a build. The power that you can create in your character is completely minimized by the idea that as you level up, your stats mean less. 1000 fire resistance in Dragon Age 2 would go from giving you 15% damage resistance against fire in one level, and then you level up and now it gives you 10%. Your stats now mean less. You got weaker by leveling up. Leveling up was a bad thing, and that's not good. I think that's very self-explanatory. Now, in Inquisition, they did correct this. They went back to looking at being able to look at the stats and knowing exactly what those stats are doing, which I think was a good thing. However, by taking that and then making it so all the generic items were randomized in terms of their statistics. So you pick up a sword and it deals 3 damage, and then you pick up another sword and it deals 4 damage, even though they have the same name. I always thought that that's a very bad thing. It turns a regular RPG into an action RPG, and I don't think that's the type of game that anybody here wants to play when they go into a Dragon Age game, because Dragon Age sells itself as an RPG, not as Diablo, not as Path of Exile, not as any of those other games, which, as good as they might be, don't really do anything. And now, here comes something else that's terrible. Destroying established characters and parts of their personality very early on in the game. Destroying Bianca right there. That's not a way to sell your game. That's not something you put in the first chapter. Because now everybody knows Varric's gonna die. I guarantee it. Varric is dead by the first quarter of the game. He's not seeing the second half of the game. Because from a narrative perspective, that's what that means. He's destroyed the identity of the character, Bianca. And now Varric is no longer going to have an impact in the story in the way that he would have before. That's the character being removed from the story. At least that's my concern. That's my impression of what that is. This is really, really concerning. It raises a lot of very, very big questions, and it leaves me expecting something very bad for this game. I genuinely hope I'm wrong. I genuinely hope that by the end of this, we're going to be looking back at all the people who saw these things and were super concerned and were expecting the game to be bad, and we're going to be laughing at them. We're going to be laughing at me. I genuinely hope that. And if that happens, I'll play the game. I'll be the first person to say, hey, I was expecting the worst for this game, and then I was wrong. And if that happens, I'll be happy. As is, though, I don't think that's going to happen. So with all that being said, I hope to see you guys again next time. Hope you guys enjoyed. Again, like, subscribe, do all those things. Let me know in the comments what you think about this game, what you think the game will entail. And I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. Cheers.